Did you know that once you've hit 1000 elo, you are already better than 80% of chess players worldwide? That's right, breaking past 1000 elo puts you ahead of most players who've ever touched a chessboard. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what it takes to reach and beat players of this caliber. And if you're already there, I'll teach you how to consistently beat these players using 5 simple but proven steps. As a bonus, I will also play 2 games and show how these steps can be applied. Let's get to it. Step 1 is to put your pieces on good squares and to castle your king. No matter what opening you play, it's best to develop your pieces to set you up for success later on. No game is ever going to be won in the opening, usually, so it's best to just get your pieces to good squares and then figure it out from there. A good rule of thumb to follow is to not move the same piece twice in the opening. Now there are some openings that might break this rule, but more often than not, this can be followed. The reason for this is every piece needs a turn, and the more pieces you have out, the more opportunities there will be. Second thing about this will be getting your king to safety. Before you start any attack, make sure your king is castled. It just makes life significantly easier whenever the middle game comes around. Step number 2 is to not trade pieces unless you have a good reason. More often than not, beginners like to take pieces, and this was something I was guilty of as well. Up until I reached about 1400, I used to take every piece I could just because I could. Oftentimes, it's better to let your opponent take you in a more advantageous way, and that allows you to develop further. Keeping tension is not a bad thing, and it's something that should be embraced. More often than not, your opponent will take you and cause a blunder themselves. Step number 3 is to check for blunders. Anywhere below the 1300 level, blunders are going to happen super often. All that matters is who capitalizes on it the most. Something I would say is every single time your opponent moves a piece, check to see what is now undefended. Sometimes this can look like a pawn moving to attack another piece, forgetting that they're hanging their queen maybe. Another time it could be a knight moving to attack one of your pieces, and now you can move your queen or your piece to a more advantageous square. Every single time an opponent moves a piece, just make sure to check to see what is now undefended. On top of this, every single time you move a piece, make sure everything is defended and make sure you're moving it to a square that is no longer being attacked. A quick check will save you lots of pain later on. Step 4 is to put your pieces on the opponent's side of the board. Moving your pieces to the other side of the board may seem like an oversimplified way to play the game, but it really is that simple. Every single time your piece is on the opposite side, it's controlling enemy squares and makes it much more difficult for your opponent to play. From this position, tactics are more likely to show up, and in general, it puts you in a good position as the pressure is no longer on you. On the opposite end of this, anytime your opponent has a piece on your side of the board, use a pawn or maybe even a piece to kick it away. This will just save you from later heartache. The 5th step is to simplify when you're ahead or to look for checkmate. More often than not, I look to simplify the game whenever I'm ahead a piece or a couple pawns. This is just the easiest way because after a few trades, you're not going to run out of pieces first. When playing a 1 position, it's much easier just to get rid of all pieces to remove all counterplay if possible for your opponent. Another thing you could do is to look for checkmate. This might be the fastest solution, and it really is up to your personal taste. If you have a clear plan of attack for checkmate, make sure you go for it without allowing counterplay for your opponent. This could muddy the game and it could end up with you blundering a piece or blundering checkmate. A bonus tip I would like to add is to play longer time controls. It is significantly easier to use all the tips I've already provided whenever you have more time to do them. Something that I like to do is to play 15 minutes with 10-second increment or maybe even 30-minute games. This allows me to constantly check what I'm doing, constantly double check what I'm doing, and constantly triple check what I'm doing. Lots of times blunders that I make are completely preventable, and playing longer time controls has greatly reduced this. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and if there's anything else you would like me to make a video about, let me know.